Welcome to episode 11 of Riff and Chips. I'm your host, Phil Vernon, and today's guests are Josh McKeown and Andy Gillan, vocalist and guitarist in post-hardcore purveyors Palm Reader. Palm Reader burst onto the scene in 2011, and over the past 13 years have consistently delivered top-drawer emotional post-hardcore across their 4 albums, most recently on 2020's incredible Sleepless. They recently sadly announced they were calling time on the band, and I caught up with Josh and Andy ahead of their last run of shows before finishing up with a final performance at 2000 Trees in July. Join us as we take a retrospective look back on the life of Palm Reader, plans for life after Palm Reader, and the rarely discussed topic of death by gravy bukkake. Andy, Josh, welcome to Riff and Chips.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
I just want to start by saying, firstly, Josh, congratulations on the recent birth of your daughter.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah.
I hope all's going well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just not sleeping a lot. But,
Just knackered. So, as usual, I'm going to start by asking you both how you kind of initially got into heavier music. So, I don't know, Josh, do you want to go first?
The earliest memory of listening to and like enjoying heavy music, or it like piquing my interest, was, I think it was like, well, I'm like mid-30s. So for me, I kind of like, new metal was kind of like the first things.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Linkin Park and Papa Roach, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like something like 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I remember Angels and Insects, the music video for that.
That's the one where he screams and all the bugs come out of his mouth.
That's the one. Yeah. All the cockroaches.
Yeah.
I remember that. And then sort of from there, I think it was more, to be honest, the new metal sound was big for me because the mix of it all, like it had that kind of like subby bass quality, almost like, I don't know, it was just a lot more modern than metal, say like Metallica and or like traditional metal in that sense. I've never really been into that kind of metal really until the production quality came up.
Yeah, I get that.
But that's one of the first things I remember, and then sort of from there it just kind of spiraled really. Yeah. And I became a little bit obsessive with it all, and then I went through the whole kind of emo thing, but on the heavier side of that, not as much the whiny kind of stuff. Although don't get me wrong, I still kind of like it. I do a bit of it myself. So
we're talking more like the Thursdays than maybe the Hawthorne Heights or something. Or?
Yeah, more. Yeah, I guess like towards like the Under Oath, that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
When there was like an aggressive side to it. Under Oath were huge for me growing up, that's for sure.
They were great, and I've just noticed I know it's just a US thing, but they've just announced obviously they're doing a Only Chasing Safety kind of 20th anniversary tour to kind of like where we're at roughly in terms of how long ago that is. I think I saw them. I think it was on that tour. I saw them at the Sugar Mill in Stoke. You must have played there at some point over the years.
Yeah.
You played there? Yeah. So it was like them and Silverstein, and I want to say maybe the Hope Conspiracy or something.
Oh, nice.
No, not the Hope Conspiracy. No, that'd be a lie. The Hurt Process. Don't want to get those two confused. Very different bands, but it was still cool. The Hope Conspiracy. Imagine that. Just a weird lineup. Yeah, HopeCon would have been amazing.
Just a gnarly hardcore band opening. Yeah.
I've just got them on the brain constantly, especially since they've put new stuff out. It's just manifesting.
Yeah.
Weird aligners has happened. Soulfly took out Glassjaw in the late 90s. Not really a match made in heaven, really.
Would pay to see, though. How about yourself, Andy? What was your kind of inroad?
I'm older. I think my first band, like heavy band, was Rage Against the Machine, and it was probably just before Evil Empire came out, like 96, I think. I want to say, when I was 13. And my mate, who also played guitar at the time, he was just like the coolest guy in the world because he got CDs off his older brother and showed me and went, and I've got a guitar as well. That was kind of like definitely like my first band. So I like heavy band I got into, and then obviously like new metal, kind of the wave hit. Yeah. And Deftones were everything to me when I was in kind of like 97. I think I've read about them just before Around the Fur came out, and then bought CD singles and bought the album, and I still love them to this day. Yeah. But then there was some other nuggets that came along with it, which I like to bury at the back of the wardrobe, things like Cold Chamber, which I really liked and I'm very ashamed of now. Obviously new metal's come up because obviously a lot of the people I'm chatting to are of our sort, we're all a similar sort of age, and like
that was a lot of people's first kind of road in. And I think you have those bands that have stood the test of time for one reason or another, be it Deftones, Korn. Slipknot got tied in with it for wrong reasons, probably.
And arguably Deftones too, to be fair.
Yeah, they all got tied in. I mean, you can kind of see it a bit off the first record, but I mean, it was also very different, wasn't it? But
yeah,
I think there were so many bands that just did that one and out album back then. And some of them I still look back at relatively fondly. Some you think, oh, it was cool. And then you'll go back and listen to it and you're like, yeah, this really wasn't great. You got like the Dry Kill Logics and the bands like that. But then I don't know if any of you remember a band called Pulse Ultra. Like that's a band that I was obsessed with back in the day. And I probably still listen to that record once every couple of months.
It's ringing a bell.
Yeah.
So not one that I want ringing.
No, they played that last Ozfest that was at Donington until like 2002. And they played in like the big hangar thing in there. And I think I saw them supporting Taproot once as well, maybe at the Hop and Grape in Manchester or something, to kind of sum up where we were.
It says a lot.
But yeah, that's one album I look back on fondly, yeah. What about in terms of, we've talked about kind of overseas, the typical overseas bigger bands. In regards to UK bands, what were the first heavier UK bands that kind of grabbed your attention?
Shall I start?
I'm just going to nip him before you say anything, Josh.
Yeah, go on.
Taproot actually had an album out last year.
We saw this. So we had them on in the van on tour last month. And when Ryan was on Spotify having a look, he was like, fucking hell. Like we went to put obviously like Again and Again on or something. And he was like, fucking hell, they had an album out last month. So yeah, first UK bands that kind of piqued your interest.
Off the top of my head, I remember definitely enjoying like Hell is for Heroes. They were huge for me. That was the first ever gig I went to, actually, was Hell is for Heroes. I remember 100 Reasons were pretty big for me.
100%.
Your Codename is Milo as well. And then I guess it was kind of the more, for want of a better word, like mainstream. I guess the kind of more like front page of Kerrang bands.
Yeah.
Like your Bullet for My Valentine, that kind of stuff when they first came out. And another Welsh band that we don't talk about.
Yeah. The same for all of us, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like say anyone of that age. What about yourself, Andy?
Speaking of that other Welsh band we don't talk about, I actually saw them in a tiny venue in Salisbury, which is a market town in Wiltshire, supported by Skindred, which is hilarious to think back on now. But 20 years ago, they weren't selling out Ali Pally.
No.
So yeah, that was a gig.
I remember there was a show at Wrexham Central Station that was that band, Earth Tone 9, Stamping Ground, and Defenestration.
God.
Jesus wept.
How about that for a lineup? Yeah.
Earth Tone 9, I've seen about 100 times because they were knocking around with like Raging Speedhorn and DBH and Tribute to Nothing, Gutworm, and bands of that ilk. All which probably mean nothing to most people unless your page begins with a 4 now.
I'm very close.
But then that scene kind of, it just never really felt like it sort of went anywhere. And then like 100 Reasons and like Hell is for Heroes as well weren't as influential on me. 100 Reasons were like a breath of fresh air when they came around. And
those early EPs, like obviously, I mean, the album,
so
like
good.
Ideas was great, but those early EPs were unreal.
Yeah.
There was 3 of them, wasn't there?
I think so, yeah, from memory.
Like all the B-sides on them as well. Like the singles for Ideas Above Our Station had like a whole bunch of B-sides on which never really saw the light of day, but there were some absolute bangers in there. But because the first record was on Sony, I guess Sony was just like, you've written too many bangers, we need the best ones, and then you can have the rest as B-sides, because in Dear's CD singles, like tracks 2 and 3 were just whatever. But all the 100 Reasons ones were just amazing.
Yeah, or they were like a live version or a demo of the same, or a shitty remix of like the same song, wasn't it? It's something like
the
that.
Remix, that whole new metal remix B-side era was.
Well, going back to the Deftones ones, as we talked about before, the Deftones CD singles, especially for the singles on Around the Third, they were quite cool because it'd be Shove It, but then the B-side would be like a live version of like Root or 7 Words or something like that. I remember there was like maybe 1 or 2 versions of the CD single. And I think over the years, I tried to like, if I ever saw one, I'd pick it up to try and like complete the set, I guess. And they always had cool like live versions of older tracks, maybe.
I think mine Summer was like a CD single 1 and a CD single 2. So you had like, they had like a flap in the middle where you could just have them both.
Yeah.
I never got the second one, but I did get the 7-inch, which was gold.
Nice.
And that was my favourite record till someone stole it.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah.
We wouldn't say who. You say it in a way that you know who it is.
I know exactly who it is.
Let's not turn this into another crime podcast. We nearly had that with Dave and the Hollands Pie murders recently. What about early kind of shows? So I think you talked about how your first show was Hell is for Heroes, Josh. Again,
Yes.
I guess it was that same, just bands of that same sort of era, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Whereabouts was it you used to go to shows?
Well, I grew up in a town called Woking. We were on the outskirts of London, just outside the M25. So a lot of the shows I went to were I didn't really go to that many local shows. You'd have like village hall bits and pieces, or
proper
like
local bands,
like playing in the back of a church and all that kind of stuff. But then the first like proper gigs we went to, because there's still, I don't think there is a venue. Well, I think they might have just opened a venue in Woking, but for the longest time there hasn't been a venue in Woking.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to see a decent band, if you wanted to see live music, you just went to London.
Yeah.
Which is fucking great, because I basically, from the age of like 15 up into 20 odd, I just very regularly went up to London and saw all sorts of bands. I mean, I couldn't even begin to reel off the list.
And obviously back then you had like the Astoria was still going and stuff. So
yeah. The story of the Hell is for Heroes show I went to was Electric Ballroom. We went to Camden a lot.
Yeah,
I was at Brixton Academy quite a bit as well. There seemed to be a lot more tours coming through at that time. I don't know whether or not there was a bit of a boom, but
I don't know if it's just that thing when you're younger, you're a bit keener maybe, and you're looking out for. You just want to go to shows, so you'll go to anything and everything rather than worry about the logistics of getting home. And
100%. Yeah. This nostalgia is playing a big part, I'd say, as well.
You also don't have to pay rent when you're that age.
Yeah. And about you, Andy, obviously you talked about Earth Toe 9 and bands like that. Was it a lot of the bands that you listed off before, or?
Yeah, used to go to, Salisbury Arts Centre used to put on loads of shows, and then that kind of closed down for a while. And there was a sort of 200 cap room called the Black Pig, which was hilarious. Saw Clutch there as well. Apart from that, I used to go to like Joiners in Southampton, go down to Bournemouth, or go to Wedge of Rooms in Portsmouth. Yeah, it was pretty much those. I mean, I think
we got that. Your internet's going crazy. You're sounding like a robot.
Just me laughing in the background.
Excellent. I'll hold it up on a bit of paper so you can see it.
Fucking insane. What was that?
I used to go to gigs in various places to see various bands. There you go.
Fantastic.
Nice little summary. Perfect. So we'll do this episode slightly differently to how I approach some episodes, obviously with the recent news that you guys announced of calling it a day in a couple of months after your final tour. So we'll have just like a kind of slightly retrospective look back maybe of the last kind of 13 years as a band.
Nice, yeah.
So we'll take it right back to 2011. I mean, that's just me doing maths from 2024, so I assume that was when you first started. How did Palm Reader come to be, and kind of when and where was your first show?
Palm Reader came to be, I mean, I started the band, and it was basically a reaction to just not hearing any bands that I liked, and wanting to make music that I wanted to hear with people that I wanted to make music with. It started with me and Posh, the bassist, and the other guitarist, Sam, who's also from Woking. Oh wait, he's not in the band anymore. Fuck.
Thank God.
I hope you hear this, Sam. Like I say, it was a reaction to just not hearing music that we wanted to hear. We were sick of nothing being good enough for our ears.
Yeah.
And the first gig was in Guildford at the Boiler Room.
Okay.
Supporting Feed the Rhino.
Okay. Another good UK band of yore.
And then from that point on, we kind of just played as much as we possibly could for anyone, for any money. We were kind of relentless for the first few years.
So you went on to release 4 albums. Let's go back through those for anyone that's not sure. So there was Bad Weather in 2013.
Yeah.
Beside the Ones We Love in 2015. Braille in 2018. And then finally Sleepless in 2020. How would you sum up your kind of progression as a band and development of your sound over the span of those 4 records?
Aging like fine wine while aging like old men.
I mean, yeah, it's quite a good summation. I mean, you did have that thing. If you could bottle this and sell it, it would make good money. But you had that thing where you started strong, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying it. I mean, you probably agree that each album was probably better than the last. You did,
hopefully,
you did a really good job of getting better. You know, you didn't have that, first one was great, second one was great, third one was a stinker, fourth one, each album got progressively better. For me personally, in terms of, I wouldn't necessarily say songwriting, because obviously they were all slightly different, but in terms of whether it's like how they flowed, like the layering in the right place, the things that came into it, each one just seemed to get finessed a little bit more. And I think the
Yeah.
sound on Sleepless was, I don't know if it's like what you always should have been, because I think you were great as the first thing, but I think Sleepless was such a great record from kind of start to finish in terms of how it flowed and the kind of emotion that was involved in it and the way the songwriting was and the dynamics.
Yeah.
Was that a natural progression from, I guess, the more raw, slightly harsher Bad Weather up to,
Yeah.
the more dynamics of Sleepless? Was that something that was...
Well, I mean, firstly, thank you for saying that. That's very nice of you to say so. It was semi-intentional, really, like the progression. I think it's just what happens though. Because I was like 21 when I started the band. So from that point on, you just get older and things change and your tastes change as well as your approach. I guess your ability changes as well. And it all kind of it all contributes to the outcome. More than anything though, I think we've never been able, I mean, you could probably hear it on tracks on each album, like even within each release, there's so much variety in what we're putting out, albeit like relatively cohesive. Like, there's a variety in between the songs, so we're not great at sticking to one thing. And again, that's not really an intentional thing. It's just, I don't know, some sort of musical ADHD maybe. So I guess that's where it comes from. It's just we've never wanted to write the same song twice, and I guess that's just how it's come out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add to that, Andy.
I think that was quite succinct, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, as well as taste changing over 13 years, you go through good times and bad times, and they both influence your psyche in different ways, and that will come out in your writing.
Yeah.
Before Braille, we had a lot of friends and family members die, and it was a much more somber record because of it. Probably influenced the whole pacing and vibe and tempo, and I wouldn't say lack of aggression, but like compared to Beside the Ones We Love, it wasn't as visceral. So, shit happens, people change, and if you're creating something, it is at some level going to influence what comes out.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that. Obviously, as someone who writes music themselves, like you say, if you had a really shitty day or a really shitty weekend and you sit down to write riffs, they're going to be very different to ones where you've just been out and it's been a lovely summer's day and you've been out with the dog and you come home and you're all relaxed.
Yeah, as well as that, like every release that we've put out, it's not like we've written a load of songs over the course of a year to 2 years between each release and then sort of cherry picked songs and like, so say for instance, like we've written 20 to 30 tracks and then we pick our 10 favorite or whatever, however many songs.
Yeah. We've
always just written an album and then put that album out. We don't have like spare songs knocking about.
No.
And that is quite stressful, I'm not gonna lie, but it also means that the songs are all written around the same time and they're all finished right up to the last thing. So they come out as like sort of brand new as possible and as fresh and as exciting to us whilst writing them and recording them. I guess that kind of helps with the outcome as well, in a way.
Yeah, 100%. Bad news for anyone that was hoping for some sort of farewell kind of B-sides and demos record, though, I guess.
We had an amazing name for a B-sides record, which is B-sides The Ones We Love.
Oh, yeah, that would be good, to be fair.
But it's got nothing on it.
It's just a blank record. And like, you know how you can sometimes have like a single-sided 12-inch with like a screen print on the other side, just have a screen print on each side. So it's just like some sort of something that looks nice, but is totally useless in terms of any sort of audible output.
And we've got hard drives full of ideas, but they're like 10-second riffs and like half a chorus from me. And it's not just a Logic session that's just 1 BPM and then like 20 different songs at the same BPM, just all different ideas in one.
Oh, yes. One way of sort of expanding on the whole sort of writing for a record, and it sounds like the time you wrote it. The reason the first two records sound the same is because we wrote Bad Weather and Besides the Ones We Love within 18 months.
Right, okay.
And that's the reason why those two are so similar. I mean, B-Tail's definitely more advanced in terms of kind of the way we were writing those songs, but they were very, like, we wrote in the tail end of 2012, Besides the Ones We Love, released in 2013, wrote B-Tail in October, November, December of 2013, and then recorded it in January 2014, and then sat on it for a year because of just labels just being shit and deciding they don't have any
because
money.
of the industry, bro. Yeah.
Slaves to the industry. So on top of the albums you released, you also put out a really fucking great split EP with Conjurer of covers. For anyone that's not heard it, go out and check it out. So Conjurer cover Mastodon and Slipknot, and you guys cover Rage Against the Machine and Thrice. So how did you decide on those kind of songs in particular? Of all the songs out there, what made you kind of pick those two?
It was a fucking bun fight from the off.
Was there like a list of 30 songs that you wanted to do that then had to be argued about and Google polled on to decide what?
Mate, there was 30 songs each, and then we each had to just go through and veto and vet each other's lists, and we ended up with those two.
So they were the ones that kind of that everybody agreed on.
I'm glad you remember, mate. I've got no recollection of how we decided on those songs at all.
Can you remember any of the other ones that were on the list that nearly made the cut?
There would have been some Deftones, pig bands that we all like
it's just
individually and could translate Palm Reader doing a cover of. And it's like, well, yeah, we could do that. We did a terrible Slipknot cover a few years ago, so couldn't do that. There would have been some serious contenders and some jokes and some absolute trash on there as well. But it was literally a bun fight with all of us having too many songs to whittle down to two.
The two that you picked in the end, ended up sounding great, and I think they worked really well with your sound. They kind of show those two sides, especially from, if you look at like Sleepless, there was definitely some stuff on that was very much in the vein of that kind of like Circles cover of the Thrice in terms of like the melodies and stuff. So it was definitely a bit of foreshadowing for what was going to come after it.
Yeah.
Out of interest, this is something I want to ask as someone who's technically in the industry but has never done it. How does it work when you're releasing covers like that in terms of like rights, permission, royalties? Do you have to like get permission if you're releasing them, especially like commercially?
Good question.
Don't think we have to get permission unless you're doing something big with it.
Yeah.
I think you just do it, and then the label
ask for forgiveness.
Pretty much, yeah. Like Justine would basically just contact Thrice's and Rage Against the Machine's labels and say, "Oh, this has been done, and you've been credited, so you'll be getting paid." I guess.
So you went from covering Thrice in 2019 to getting the opportunity to tour with them this year. So that must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, because I think I'm the Thrice fan of the band, really. Probably the main reason that we put Circles on that cover EP.
Yeah. Had they heard the cover?
I'm not sure. I didn't ask. I didn't really speak to any of them. They're all kind of introverted, and I'm pretty introverted as well, so don't really know.
You didn't ask for the forgiveness on the tour first thing. Oh, by the way, we made a bit of money out of covering one of your songs.
Did we make any money? I don't think we did.
I was going to say big assumption that you made a bit of money there. Yeah. Obviously, you've had the opportunity to kind of tour or play shows with quite a few legends of the scene, I guess. Thrice we've mentioned. You've been out on the road with the likes of Sick, Will Haven. I remember seeing you guys with Will Haven in Bristol. You got to play Brixton with Glassjaw. So I'm assuming these are all bands, given that we're similar age, that you all kind of
and Norma Jean as well.
And Norma Jean, yeah. So I imagine these are all bands that you kind of looked up to, inspired you, probably when you were younger.
Oh, yes.
It must have been cool to get the opportunity to go out and play shows, with those bands, especially shows at somewhere like Brixton with a band like Glassjaw.
Yeah, that was the Bananas one. We had an email through from our publicist, because they do Glassjaw as well, and they went, it's not 100%, but would you guys be free to support Glassjaw at Brixton? And it was like, either of those two things is enough for us to drop everything we're doing.
Yeah. I'll cancel that wedding that I had planned.
Yeah,
exactly. It was surreal from the first email through to actually playing the show, and then a couple of them watched us and spoke to them afterwards, and I think it was only till we got home we were just like, Jesus Christ, what actually just happened?
Yeah, I still haven't really processed it. I'm not going to lie. It was a while ago, but...
Well, you need to get on with it. It was a long time ago.
I know, but it feels like a fever dream. It doesn't make sense to me.
And you talked about there from the moment you got the first email, and it's like, oh, this isn't 100%, but have there been any of those things like that where you've received something, it's like, this is going to be amazing, and then it's just it's fallen through or not quite materialized?
Yeah. Do you want to go on a tour of Indonesia with Heck?
Oh, was that one, was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was one. That was an offer from an Indonesian clothing company. And they went, we'll take care of everything, pay for your flights. And then it just yeah, it just kind of never happened.
So are there any other bands in particular that you probably would have like killed to play with, but unfortunately never quite got the chance? Obviously, we've talked about Deftones being a huge thing, but in terms of bands, I guess realistically, obviously it's easy to sit around and be like, oh yeah, like, playing like Wembley with Metallica or whatever. But any bands that you think, realistically, you probably could have toured with them had the opportunity arisen.
Converge, maybe.
Yeah.
We're not earlier sound. I mean, we did a few shows with Mutoid Man, which is Ben from Converge and Steve from Caven.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would work with what we're doing now, what we have done with Sleepless. And
yeah, I guess maybe if we're not sticking to what our release would suit, then I guess it could be fucking anyone.
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah. Just anyone that you like. Yeah, it's quite a big, it's quite a wide open question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, which is great. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I think Converge is definitely up there. Dillinger would be incredible.
Mm.
I don't know. I feel like we did tick quite a few off the bucket list. Really, like the Chariot would have been great as well.
I think we started getting some traction, like when they split up.
Yeah,
summer 2013 when we didn't really go home. We're in Holland and found out they split up.
Yeah,
everyone backstage had quivering lips.
Oh, I was really upset. I was lucky enough to play with the Chariot once. Did you ever play Moho Live in Manchester? Can probably put you on there at some point, maybe.
Think so.
It was a weird room with like if you were stood on stage, there was like a staircase like right in front of you in the middle of where everyone stood.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like it was really weird. But there used to be loads of amazing shows there. So before we move on to the food stuff, one last quick one, Palm Reader based.
Can we just get on to the good
food bit in a minute? Let's get on to it. We've been chatting for 40 minutes now. Any post Palm Reader projects bubbling away in the background?
Yes, yeah. I'm in a new band with ex-members of Black Peaks and Tosca.
Okay.
Called Vower. We're set to be releasing material pretty soon.
That's something to keep an eye out for. Vower, you say? Like VOWER?
That's the one, yeah. Someone that makes a vow. A vower.
How about yourself, Andy? I know because you go out with a lot of bands touring, right? Doing like backline and stuff like that.
Yeah, I go out and make people play guitar better than I can, which I thoroughly enjoy. I'm taking a wee bit of time off writing music to kind of refill the well, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because the last couple of years, I think COVID's had like a bigger effect on a lot of people than we give it credit for or discredit for. Mine has been having a real creative drought. Like Josh said, like we've got a fucking hard drive full of ideas, but none of them I've been particularly happy enough with to kind of develop further. So I'm going to take a bit of time just to not do music and watch some amazing people play music and get inspired.
Should we get down into some chippy chat?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So one thing I like about having two people on the show is that quite often that means two different chippies. So let's start with you, Josh. What chippy are you taking me to?
Before I start, I would like to say that me and Andy moved out of Nottingham City Centre into the sticks, and we both live about 5 to 10 minutes away from each other in the sticks.
Oh, right.
So there is a chance. There is a chance.
I'm glad you've mentioned Nottingham because there's something I can bring up to ask you that I asked Carl from Earth-Tone 9 and I didn't realise that he wasn't a Nottingham native, just that he moved there for the band. So he couldn't really answer me the question, but we'll come back to
yes,
that in a bit.
it's the same with both of us, just in case that helps at all.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I can bring up the fact that you were in Nottingham and maybe see if you're aware of it. But firstly, what chippy is it you're taking me to?
Here's the thing. Recently, me and my girlfriend have, I think we've landed on the chippy that probably likely going to keep going back to.
It's always a good feeling.
But only because the one that we would like to go to every time, it's like a 25-minute, half-hour drive.
Right, okay. It's just too far, isn't it?
And
to have optimum chips when you get back.
Don't get me wrong. We made that journey plenty of times because it was that good.
Right.
Is that good. So a shout out to that chippy first.
Was that the one in Baseford?
No, it's in Bottisford.
No, was that the one you used to go to?
That chippy was shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right, firstly, let's name and shame the shit chippy.
Shit chippy. I think it was Captain Cod or something like, I think it was.
It's not off to a good start, is it?
Shit.
And that was where?
That's in Nottingham.
Were they all in Nottingham, you knobhead?
Yeah, but Bottisford's not in Nottingham, you knobhead.
That's a good point. All right, sorry. I'll retract the knobhead statement. The shit chippy is in Sherwood/Baseford.
Right, okay.
That's Captain Cod. The decent one that I wish I could go to that we don't anymore is in Bottisford, and it's just called Bottisford Fish and Chip Bar.
Yeah.
The next one that we tried after that, which is a bit of a drive away, is also great, is on Trent Boulevard in Lady Bay, and that's called Lady Bay Fish and Chip Bar.
Okay.
But the one we've landed on that we go to all the time now is in Bingham, which is near us, a lot closer.
Bingham Fish Bar?
It's not Bingham Fish and Chip Bar. It is called Eaton Place Fish Bar.
Eaton Place Fish Bar, okay.
Yeah, and it's in a little precinct in Bingham.
And what about yourself, Andy?
I would like to say in defence of Captain Cod that if you went in and you were like £1, £2 short, they'd let you off.
Okay.
And because I used to live around the corner from that place, I always used to take it back. However, I have moved and I do owe them about £3.
Oh,
So
they're not listening.
I fortunately live a bit 10 minutes closer towards Bottisford, so I go to the Bottisford Chip Shop, and it is tits.
I didn't know this.
For the people that can't see, obviously you could tell by the gasp, there was a huge look of disappointment on Josh's face there. And I also want to say, because people can't see this, Josh is actually wearing a Chippy T cap. It's fucking glorious. It's a brown number with Chippy T on like a little flag pennant. And I will be Googling it as soon as I get off this chat.
It is pretty much like the ideal shade of a bad cod.
Yeah. What's it say on the back?
It says right nice stuff.
Right nice stuff. Oh my God. I love it. It's amazing.
Who's it by? I can't remember who it was by now. I'm sure you'll find it. Chippy T.
So you go to the one that is just out of Josh's reach.
Yeah, I do. It's because we're both in the sticks, we're also very limited in terms of takeaways and stuff. So we have frequent chats about new places that then deliver to our villages and what to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you're kind of sharing that wealth of knowledge so people don't end up too disappointed.
I'd just like to squeeze in, I know it's not fish and chip shop related, but big up Bombay Joe's in Bingham.
Yeah.
Bombay Joe's.
Fucking banging curries.
Oh, yeah, always up for curry recommendations, yeah. We don't discriminate. Josh, obviously, we're getting chips. What size portion are we getting?
Large. Yeah.
Always large?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And what are the larges like at this chippy? Are they kind of feed a family of 3 large or?
Like you'd expect from any decent chippy, far too much for one person to consume in one sitting, which is beneficial because then you can go back to the kitchen and have cold chips afterwards.
Yeah, the sort of like you pile your plate, you wrap them up in the paper, don't you? And then I say afterwards, like normally as soon as I empty my plate, I'll go and get the rest. Like I'm not very good at leaving them for like an hour and then letting them settle.
Yeah. I mean, it's technically afterwards, but it's not really, is it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's essentially the same meal. Yeah. And yourself, Andy, are you a large man?
I am a large man.
Are you a large man?
I've got to agree with you guys, except I think it's you take it through the kitchen so you just don't have to look at it.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of 20 minutes later go, oh, I've got chips left. And it's like, well, obviously.
Yeah.
And then there's never enough left.
Don't worry about it, love. I'll take the plates out to the kitchen and just stuff my face on the way to the dishwasher. Yeah.
Yeah, classic. And would you eat them cold or would you stick them in the microwave or reheat in the oven or just as they are?
Just as is, for me.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Yeah, no time for reheating. Josh, what's your kind of main accompaniment to the chips? What's your big featured item?
A large battered cod.
Large battered cod, classic.
Every single time.
Never deviate?
No, I really don't know. The only deviation is that every now and again I'll get some scraps thrown in as well.
Oh, so you get scraps, yeah. See, obviously they're very like localized around the country in places where you can and can't get them. So down in Bristol, really annoyingly, I haven't really found any chippies here that do scraps.
Oh, really?
But where I was from originally, up in the northwest, some did, some didn't. Yorkshire, where my family's from, all the chippies do them. It's definitely quite localized in terms of where it does and where it doesn't.
I didn't know that. I did. So there you go. That's me. Large cod, scraps if I can handle it.
And do the scraps, do they just sprinkle a few on top or do they just do they fill them up like a little bag up with them or something?
It's usually the same sort of polystyrene cup that you'd get your gravy, your peas, your curry sauce.
Oh, so like a cup's worth, yeah.
Yeah, usually a cup's worth because, I don't know, I guess at some point someone complained that they got thrown in with the rest. But
how about yourself, Andy?
I am a large battered sausage guy. I like a big sausage.
Do you go battered or plain sausage?
I mean, I did just say battered sausage.
Oh, there we go. That just shows the classic.
No,
that's obviously the word that dropped out.
All we got this end was, I like a big sausage, and that's it. That's all you got to say.
Oh god, this is going to be a great one to edit this. So, large battered sausage, yeah?
Large battered sausage.
Perfect. So, Josh, we'll come back to you. I assume you have plenty of salt and vinegar on stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I like my eyes to tell me that I've got vinegar when I open the chips when I get home.
So, would you specify when you go in there, like loads of salt and vinegar, please?
I don't think I've ever really had to specify too much. Every now and again, like you would see him putting the vinegar in, you'd be like, he just,
You do kind of supervise just in case.
I think it's important,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell him. I'm not that fussy, but I do like it when there's plenty on there.
Because you were saying to me, like, you like your eyes to tell you when there's plenty of vinegar, which implies that naturally they might be relatively heavy on the vinegar, if that's something that you get quite often.
Yeah, I've got vinegar at home as well, so can always top it up if need be.
Top up if need be, yeah. What about yourself, Andy?
Mate, topping up is the one. For some reason, people that work in chip shops, that's literally their job, but they never put enough vinegar on.
Right, okay.
In my not so humble opinion, I'm always going home and sticking more on.
Yeah,
100%.
My wife does the same.
Salt is always fine. They always put enough salt on, but when it comes to vinegar, it's just like, mate, come on. Shocking.
I think one thing that annoys me, and I think this is, a lot of the time, it depends whether it's box, paper or whatever, and with the chippy, is... If it's just in a box or something, the top layer of chips might have some salt on, but then because it doesn't get shaken up or whatever, then the bottom ones don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think sometimes if they put them maybe into either a paper bag or even another bag, like the act of the wrapping kind of mixes it up a bit, like a salt and vinegar.
I like it when
mixer.
It's when they kind of put everything all in one and they put the fish and the chips like onto the paper.
Yeah.
And then they salt and vinegar it up, and then they put it all together and wrap it up. Like you get a decent spread of everything then.
When you go to a chippy where they're serving it in paper rather than a box, you're going to get a good portion because they're not being restrained by the size of the box.
Yeah.
It's not like, you're only going to get the amount of chips that can fit in this box. It's like, I'm going to give you as many chips as can fit on this broadsheet newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's like one of the few industries where they're just like, they don't care about stock take. They're just like, yeah, fuck it. Just, have we got a big enough snow shovel to stick all these chips in this bit of newspaper? It's madness, but appreciated.
Moisture, Josh. Do you have any moisture with your fish and chips?
I do, yeah. I'm a bit of a greedy boy. I quite like mushy peas. I like to have a large mushy peas, a small gravy, and a small curry sauce.
Absolute buffet.
And I tend to... peas on the side, drizzle a bit of gravy over most of it, not too much, don't want to get it soggy, and then I have the curry sauce on the side to dip.
Does your gravy pouring include the fish or just the chips? Because personally, I think gravy on fish is controversial. It's not like it tastes bad, but to me it seems like a bit of a don't. But
I don't aim for the fish, but if it gets caught in the crossfire,
there's some collateral.
It's not a casualty in my book.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I was just intrigued whether it's like, just whack it over everything. Because I'd have been a bit like,
it's more of a chip thing, really. But there will be collateral damage.
There's bound to be, especially if you're really excitedly throwing it on.
Oh, I'm a lunatic with it, mate. I can't.
It's just chip shop bukkake, really. Someone's going to get covered in gravy.
Can you die from bukkake? Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I mean, I'd die from a gravy bukkake, I think. There's worse ways to
Happily,
go. Yeah.
I mean, they're very common around these parts. Anywhere north of Oxford, it's just a weekend sport.
What about you then, Andy? Are you a gravy man?
I am not. I like gravy, obviously, because I'm not a savage, but not with chippy tea. I'm a mushy peas and large curry sauce kind of guy. But then when I get at home, the ketchup and the mayo always makes an appearance.
What? Sorry. What? Sorry.
What's wrong with mayo and chips?
Mayo's for fries, I think. Like, fries, fine. You go to Belgium or whatever, you get your fries and your mayo. But I don't think there's a place for them with chippy chips. But
fucking purists.
I'm not going to condemn your choices, but I will question them.
So are you also a dipper or are you a pourer?
Pourer, but I'm a segregation kind of pourer. So if I have mushy peas and gravy, they go on opposite sides of the plate. So I can have them when I want them.
Okay,
but they're
fair
not
enough.
In the middle mixing together. Because that's just
no
too much.
cross-contamination.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever mixed mushy peas and curry sauce together, you know.
No. Although, interestingly, there's a really great Indian kind of street food restaurant called Bundobust, if anyone's
Oh,
heard of
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
get
yeah.
like a kind of, they do like a mushy peas there. One of the dishes is like a kind of, almost like a curried mushy peas, like a kind of Indian style mushy
Oh,
pea
shit.
dish.
Yeah, I've had that.
And it's really fucking
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah, Bundobust's great. You can go in if
it's
you've got
one of my
like,
favourites,
as long
man.
as there's,
It is.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wicked.
if there's 2 or 3 of you even, you don't need that many of you. You can probably order like one of everything off the menu.
Yeah.
And it's not overly expensive. It might cost you like 60 quid or something.
And
But
it's
then,
all vegetarian as well, which is great.
yeah, it's great. And they do like okra fries. And they used to do this amazing, it was almost like a mashed potato thing, but like on a butty, but like it was like spicy and stuff. It was yeah. It was like almost like a spicy mashed potato ball, like on roll or something.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out Bundobust. Have you been to the tap room that they've got in?
Yes.
Yeah.
On Oxford Road, yeah. So yeah, if anyone's not been to Bundobust in Manchester, and I'm pretty sure there is one in Leeds as well, isn't
I think so, yeah. I think it's like the most recent one because they were just Manchester, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 in Manchester. There's one just off Piccadilly Gardens that you go downstairs into.
Yeah.
And then there's one right by where the Music Box and kind of Jilly's Rock World used to be.
Yeah.
Which is like where the tap room is and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the Leeds one, I've got a feeling last time I saw it, this was a long time ago, it was kind of near the station in the same sort of area where like the station and the cockpit was. I've got a feeling it was maybe under one of the arches, around that sort of way somewhere.
Yeah, possibly. It's
But
not.
don't quote me on that. But either way, check it out. Bundobust's amazing. While we're talking about mushy peas, this is where the Nottingham thing comes in. So I work with a lad who grew up in Nottingham, and he goes on about this.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yes, go on. So are we talking about the mushy pea man at the Goose Fair?
Yeah. Mushy pea man of the Goose Fair, and also putting mid sauce in your mushy peas.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. And he was like, oh yeah, it was just this huge thing, like the Goose Fair, the mushy pea van was there, and you got mint sauce and mushy peas, and it was just this whole thing. So I'm glad it's not a myth that he's made up to me, that it is a genuine
I know it's a thing. And I can vouch for mint sauce in mushy peas being great.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have it with my fish and chips.
Nope.
Yeah, mint's a weird one for the fish and chips, but yeah, on their own, I can imagine some minted peas being really good, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Nottingham's the birthplace of mushy peas. I think I'm correct in saying that. Pretty sure I heard that on BBC Radio Nottingham.
Oh, okay. I mean, why would they lie?
I don't know, to promote the city, probably.
Yes, tins of pop. Do you get a tin of pop, Josh, when you go to the chippy?
I don't, but I regularly, I'd say 80% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time that me and my girlfriend get fish and chips, we will have Prosecco with it.
Oh, la-di-da.
You can take the boy out of Surrey.
Hey,
That's
man.
quite a treat, isn't it?
I don't think Prosecco is a Surrey thing. But yeah, no, it's I cannot recommend it enough.
I mean, it's fizzy. I mean, it's kind of like a fizzy pop.
It's great with like fatty foods.
Yeah.
Just try it next time you have fish and chips, just for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a first. No one said it yet, and I'll be intrigued to see if I get it come up again. I always like to hear a new fizzy drink, and I wasn't expecting Prosecco to come up. So.
It's fucking fizzy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one thing it is for sure, yeah. Do you go like fancy or just like cheap bottle?
Oh, no.
Just splash it out?
No, I'm not made of money, mate. Christ.
Just like just one of those like really good, like how like Aldi and Lidl do really good wine and Prosecco.
They do, yeah.
Like
they're Aldi. I think, is it Aldi that do the organic Prosecco, which is reasonably priced, but still really good. So there you go.
To me, I'm not really that much of a wine person, so whenever I taste it, someone can be like, "Oh, try this. It's like a really nice bottle of wine." And I'll be like, "Yeah, it just tastes like wine to me. I don't really have the palate for it."
I can taste when it's bad.
Yeah. I think I could tell the difference.
But past that point, I'm no expert at all.
No. What about you, Andy? Do you have Prosecco or a more traditional can of pop?
I'm definitely a lot more working class when it comes to beverages with chips.
Fantastic.
It's 50-50 for me between. Actually, no, it's not. It's one of cherry Coke, Sprite, not 7-Up because that's just piss, and Iron Brew. So it depends.
So I'm just taking a swig from my 7-Up.
Yeah. I think you mean piss.
Yeah, I think you mean piss. Yeah. But no, I mean, the other ones are all quite traditional. I mean, Cherry Coke is a great shout for a chippy. Iron Brew, again, is another really great chippy shout.
That is a phenomenal
Sprite,
shout.
I do enjoy a Sprite as well, to be honest.
Sprite just seems to kind of just chip away all the fatty stuff like left in your gob after you've done punishing yourself.
Oh, so you feel like it kind of like the bubbles maybe act like a kind of palate cleanser, like a deep clean for your inner mouth.
Yeah, the effervescence definitely helps, which is probably why Josh likes the Prosecco.
Yeah. Could be the reason.
There you go.
Or like I say, he's just a good solid middle to upper class boy. Too good for Iron Brew.
All right, lads. All right, let's calm down.
Yeah, he's not, but he is a fancy man.
So I assume when you go to your chippies, are they fish to order sort of chippy? Are they normally in the counter, or do you have to shout them up when you go in and kind of wait 5-10 minutes for them to cook them fresh?
Fish to order. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I just shout them anyway.
So whilst you're waiting for them to cook your chippy, do you order a little waiting snack?
Now, here's the thing. If I could go to the Bottisford chippy, the one that Andy goes to, then I would, because they do an incredible spring roll.
Oh, right, okay.
You know, like the big spring rolls?
Yeah, the massive ones, yeah.
Like this, they're too big. Yeah, they do that, but they also make them to order as well.
Oh, okay. So you could have a double chaser.
Because it was such a drive, I'd order the spring roll as well as the fish and chips, and then on the way home from the chippy in the car, that's when I'd have the spring roll. So it's not necessarily while I'm waiting to order or whatever.
It's the same sort of thing there, but same thing, like a little snack. Yeah, for the journey home, it all falls under the same sort of thing. Yeah. Perfect. So what sort of things, I guess in the counter is just your traditional, your sausages, maybe some fish cakes, something like that, the kind of things that are just kind of ready in the front.
Yeah, pineapple fritters, another one as well.
All right, okay.
I've had a couple of them while waiting.
What about yourself, Andy?
I do not, because to be honest, I've never thought about it till I heard the first episode of your podcast. I was like, too many people fucking eat stuff.
People either do or don't. Like when I remember someone mentioning it, people are like, I can't believe people don't do this.
Is
there like a classic thing that people... Sorry, go on, Andy.
It's just a concept that's not foreign, just something I've just never come into contact with. Where I grew up in Salisbury, just outside Salisbury, it's right next to a bunch of army bases, and the chippies used to be like rammed full of squaddies, and I never saw them eating in there. And I thought that would be like the prime kind of people who just be like, sit down and go, I've got like 2 minutes to wait for chips. I might as well have a pie.
Yeah. Pie would be a hard going. Like your traditional items, I know that's what you were about to bring up, Josh. I guess your traditional item is, even it could just be a little small, a small sausage, or it could be maybe a fish cake.
Do they do small sausages?
A scallop or a fritter. Yeah, some chippies just do like, because you sometimes you have like a normal sausage or you have a jumbo, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
So you get like a small, not like a chipolata, but like a...
Or a cocktail.
Yeah, or a little cocktail sausage, but just like a normal size sausage.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's normally something that's ready in the counter that you can just be like, I'll just chuck us one of them while I'm waiting, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not the first one, Andy. I mean, there's, it's been a very kind of, it's been a bit of a split as to who does and doesn't. I do like a pie. Like, I like a pie at the footy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's definitely football food.
Yeah, just, have a pie, fork and a little brown sauce on it or whatever. It's like perfect kind of like footy food.
Brown sauce. Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I do. Yeah, just have the pie and then I just use the fork, just maybe dig a hole in the top, squirt a little brown sauce in. Yeah. So that's my kind of like stood on the terraces kind of food.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Now the chippy stuff's out the way, we've got one more little section left, and this is the section where we give you the opportunity to push what's coming up in the world of Palm Reader, in your case. So this section we like to call... So this section's called Plug It. Obviously, the big thing you guys have got coming up is the farewell tour. So tell us a little bit about that. When is it? Where are you getting to?
Yeah, I can't remember the dates. I'm awful. I've always been awful. I'm terrible at this.
Is it July?
I'm here to talk about fish and chips, mate.
This is where Andy stepped up to the plate and perfectly and eloquently reeled off all the tour dates, which would have been lovely had his internet not shut out and lost all that audio. So to make sure that key bit of info isn't missed, those final dates for July are 4th at Southampton Joiners, 5th at the Underworld in Camden, 6th at Manchester Academy 3, 7th at the Rescue Rooms in Nottingham, and then their final show will be on the 12th of July at 2000 Trees. Now back to the chat. What stage is that on at Trees?
I believe it hasn't been announced yet, but I'm pretty sure it's the cave, yeah.
Because I've not been to Trees, but I think that's the one that's like similar sort of size to like what the third stage at Arctangent, that sort of size.
Yeah.
I think it's the one that my friends in Going Off played when they played last year.
Yes, I think I remember seeing them.
So that'd be great. So obviously the past couple of years you've been kind of touring as a 7-piece, isn't it? Is it 7 of you?
Mm-hmm.
Been playing recently. I assume, is that going to be the same for these last shows too?
Yeah, absolutely. They're fully fledged members of the band for a very short amount of time, albeit, but yeah.
The decision to jump to a 7-piece live show, was that purely just to kind of more accurately recreate live some of the details and layers from the recordings without kind of just like putting them on backing tracks?
Yeah, that's 100% exactly what it is.
It's great. I mean, we'd all love to do it. Like, we have songs that have like, 3 or 4 guitar parts, and like we can't justify having 4 guitarists on stage. So it must be cool to actually do it live.
Yeah, well, I mean, it stems from Andy, to be fair, so I'll let him his signal's gone so bad that he's left the chat as soon as I handed it over to him.
He's just been booted. We were going to let him explain it, but he's just gone.
I can explain it, that's fine, I can explain. Basically, Andy, and to be fair, and myself, we wrote the majority of Palm Reader's stuff and pretty much all of Sleepless. And there was so much instrumentation that it got to the point where, as we were recording, we were sort of like, how are we going to do this live? We're just going to have to get a third guitarist.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Third guitarist in, and we're so reluctant to have anything on tracks if we can help it. So we have Sam Jones on keys, triggering bits and pieces of synth, and then but playing a lot of the actual synth parts himself. So it's not just like he's triggering pads and having a backing track play along with us, but just fills out the sound.
Yeah.
And it makes the big riffs so much more powerful with like 3 guitarists and a bassist and a synth player all playing in unison, like one big riff. It's amazing. Oh, there you go.
Oh, here he comes.
Hello.
Well, I answered the question for you anyway, so.
Excellent.
Obviously, you didn't hear what Josh had to say, but I was going to say anything more you wanted to add about the addition of the extra members and the filling out the live sound.
Did you do the bit that we did it for the live stream and then just kept it because it sounded cool?
I didn't say that at all.
We tried it out with the live stream we did at St Edmund's Church in Rochdale, where we had a couple of mates come and do some extra parts to sort of fill out the sound, because at that point we hadn't figured out how to play it live as a 5-piece.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're like, well, we don't have to because this sounds really cool. And it's just kind of stay from there, really.
A lot of the time it's not financially or logistically possible. Obviously, going on tour as a 5-piece in a band and the amount of gear you need is a nightmare. So obviously you start adding more members in, obviously.
It's a clusterfuck.
Yeah, why more and more bands don't do it, I guess. But, to have the opportunity to do it for those past couple of years.
Yeah.
It's wicked. But yeah, the jump in touring logistics between 5 and 7 is fucking bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Proportionally. We're taking a couple more people out, not extra musicians, but like more crew out with us, just mates, because it's our last run. And going from 7 to 10 is easy.
Yeah.
But the jump from 5 to 7 was fucking massive somehow.
Maybe that explains the 9 in Slipknot. Maybe they went from 5 to 7 and were like, oh, fuck it, we may as well just add a few more now.
In for a penny, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you giving up your Thursday nights to come and chat to me. All the best with the tour. All the best with your futures after the tour. So Josh, yourself with Vower, be good to see you doing that again. Andy, I don't know what you said you were doing because your internet shit out, but
it was profound.
It was profound, yeah. Well, good luck.
Perfect.
Good luck being profound.
I'll have good luck with my profanity, do not worry.
Thanks so much for coming on, guys. All the best, and hopefully I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Phil.
Cheers, Phil.
That was Josh and Andy from Palm Reader. Josh took us to Eaton Place Fish Bar in Bingham. He ordered a large chips and large cod with salt and an eye-burning amount of vinegar. Moisture-wise, he hits the full trifecta of mushy peas, gravy and curry sauce like an absolute hero. He washes it all down with Prosecco like a real fancy Dan. Andy took us to Botsford Fish and Chip Bar, much to the annoyance of Josh. He ordered a large chips with a large battered sausage. He's having salt and vinegar, but he's always adding more vinegar when he gets home. He moistens his food with mushy peas and curry sauce. Pop-wise, Andy has a much more working-class attitude and leans towards a cherry coke, Sprite or Iron Brew. As always, I want to see your chippy teas too, so don't forget to tag us in any pics or let us know your favourite local chippy on socials using @RiffandChips. Thanks to Rob Collier for providing the dive bomb, Edgar Gibbs for the screams, and Ryan Westwood for the artwork. See you in a week's time for our next episode.